أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح لهذه الأمة فتركها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. وارض اللهم عن سادتنا أبي بكر وعثمان وعلي وعن الصحابة أجمعين وعن التابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, a couple of weeks ago, I would like to share the experience with you. I was invited to a farm in Wafra. We were around 15 brothers. And because the masjid was far, so we prayed on the farm. One day one of the brothers decided, it was Maghrib prayer, he said, why don't we pray outside, in the field itself, palm trees and vegetation. It was a nice thing, and it was a nice change. As we finished our Maghrib prayer, our brother, the Imam, said, can you hear something? Being someone who lives in the city, we're accustomed to noise all the time. To us, it was so quiet. It's almost deafening quiet. He said, can you hear who was performing prayers with us at the same time? Listen carefully. So as we listened, we discovered we could hear the sound of insects, birds, the animals. All of them started in their own languages immediately after Maghrib prayer at the same time as we were performing the tasbih. And then he reminded us with the verse in the Quran that everything in this universe prays to Allah, yet we cannot comprehend the language and the prayers that they say. To tell you the truth, it was an overwhelming feeling. It was a moment I was not hearing anything. Yet when I was told to focus on what is around me, I discovered that I was not alone. I was part of this. Everything was there, was making sounds in its own languages. Immediately at the Maghrib prayer, as I am a Muslim who finished prayer and started performing the tasbih. That overwhelming feeling, our brother told us, he said, the feeling I'm getting now being from this hall, that I'm not alone, affects my heart more than 100 lectures about faith and about Iman. There are no words there, but the sense of feeling is so overwhelming. I am saying this because we have a serious problem nowadays. The amount of interruption that we live in our lives, from the mobile phones, from our friends, from the internet, from the satellite television, from the electricity, from our friends and social events and so on, there is no time of quiet time to spend alone in thinking about yourself, in thinking about the world around you, in thinking about what Allah had given you, in pondering and understanding who you are, where you are. A few minutes of quiet time that a person should allocate for himself and start thinking in the world around him about himself and what Allah had given him. This is not something that I brought up myself. And as we speak in this khutbah, I will mention to you what our scholars and what our companions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and yet what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had that behavior in him and used to allocate time for such things. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim says about these moments of silence, the moments of pondering, the moments of deep thinking about yourself. He says its effects are better on your heart and on your iman and behavior, and it is the best effective thing for your faith. Sa'id ibn Musayyib, the companion of the Prophet Muhammad said, worship, the effectiveness of worship is not only in the quantity of worship that you do, the prayers and fasting that you do, but the real worship is in pondering, that we call it in Arabic al-tafakkur, the thought and the observation and in the pondering of you yourself or what is around you. So Abdullah ibn Sayyib said, it's not the amount of prayers that you perform or the amount of fasting that you perform, it is the thinking about the commands of Allah and the fear from falling into what Allah told you it is a wrongful act to do is the effective thing in a Muslim's life. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the fifth Khalifa in Islam, he said, these thoughts in Allah's blessings to you is the best cure for your faith and for your iman and for your heart. Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, he is one of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ companions. As he died, the companions came to his wife, Dharr, and they asked her, tell us about him. She said, in his daytime, he would stay at one corner of the house and start pondering and thinking about himself and his relationship with Allah. At the age of 37, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, this is before the revelation, he used to go, as most of you know, he used to go for Ghar Hira, and he would stay there in a quiet time, no one around him, thinking about the beings around him, about the glory of Allah and the universe, and how magnificent this world is. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do this, especially during the period of Ramadan. This is before the revelation. And yet, 3 years later, came the revelation to him. And the first verse was, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the discipline that he had done, and he went through in that quiet time that he spent, has helped his soul and spirit elevate to certain levels and sense the world around him. It has made his heart ready to receive the verses of the Quran and get affected with it. And from that, he became a prophet. Ubayd ibn Umayr visited the wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Aisha. That was after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. So he asked Aisha radiallahu anha. He told her, tell me about the most amazing thing you saw in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said to him, everything about him was amazing. She said, one day he came to me and he told me, please, tonight I want to pray to my Creator. So as he prayed, he started crying. The Prophet Muhammad started crying. He cried so much that his beard became wet. And as he performed sujood, the tears fell onto the ground where he had performed sujood. And he finished his prayer. And as in the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he finished the qiyam layl, he would lie on his side until Fajr prayer. So Bilal came to him, asking him for permission to call for the adhan. So when Bilal saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with, the tears in his eyes and so what happened, he said, Ya Rasulullah, why are you in such a shame? Yet Allah had forgiven all of your sins that you have done in the past and what you have in the future. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told him a verse that has revealed upon me tonight. Behold, and I warn anyone who reads it and does not get affected by it. And that verse was, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. This is in Surah Al-Imran. The English translation of it, indeed, in the creation of heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of night and day, are signs for those of understanding. And then the Prophet Muhammad said, وَيْلٌ لِمَنْ قَرَأَهَا وَلَمْ يَتَدَبَّرْ بِهَا. Behold, and it's a warning for anyone who reads that verse and does not get affected by it. The Prophet Muhammad kept that verse as a standard every time he prayed the night prayer to remind himself and connect himself to the rest of the world and the universe that he is not alone here on earth, but he is part of the beings and the creatures that Allah Azza wa Jalla has created, not here on earth, not on the sky, but the entire universe belongs to Allah Almighty. In that verse itself, the Prophet Muhammad felt that he is not alone. He had felt the power that Allah gives his worshipper as he reads these verses, as he ponders in the life and the day and the night around him, and in the universe around him, and what the blessing that Allah has given him. It is the power that Allah gives a person when he thinks and thinks deeply about himself, about the verses, about the life, about the whole universe around him. He knows the real value of Islam. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان يوم الدين. The scholars of Islam, one of them is Al-Fudail ibn Iyad. He is telling us about the value of fikr, pondering, deep thinking, and these thoughts, the moments of the quiet time that you should allocate yourself alone with no one around you, looking into what Allah has given you. He said these thoughts, these deep thoughts and thinking, create a mirror image of yourself, where you can see your good deeds and you can see your bad deeds. In other words, it makes you discover who you are. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, thinking and pondering in what Allah had given you, in the good deeds helps you, gives you energy in doing the good deeds. And feeling sorry about the evil things that are done helps you get rid of these bad behaviors that you have. And then Imam Al-Qayyim gives us a further more description into the details and how it affects the Muslim in that deep thinking. He said, when a person thinks about the results of any behavior that he does, and his thinking, for example, if he was to do something that is wrong, but his deep thinking led to thinking what is the aftermath of the wrongful act. And when he sees what types of despair, what types of hardship, what type of pain and sorrow he will endure from doing such a wrongful act, this is the best support for him not to fall into such wrongful acts. And then again, Imam Al-Qayyim continues to say, in other words, before I continue, when a person is to embark and do something wrong, Imam Al-Qayyim said, think deeply to what you plan to do. Not in the act itself, but what precedes the act from the sense of guilt, the torture or the penalty from Allah, what you will receive in the hereafter, and the bad feeling you will end up suffering from doing that wrongful act. Such deep thinking will prevent you from falling into it. And then Imam Al-Qayyim continues to say, and the same thing works the other way around. When a person is too lazy to perform worship matters and to become more active in the performance of worship matters, when he sees at the end of these worship matters what he will be rewarded in the hereafter, and what type of happiness and rewards he will get from Allah from that such actions, and all the effort and the less sleep and time he had in order to perform these worship matters, when he knows the pleasures that will follow such actions, this will lead him into waking up again, fully energized in order to pursue more worship matters. In other words, sometimes you feel lazy from doing a certain thing that Islam commands you to do, or from any worship matter. So once you think the amount of reward that you will get at the end, not only in this life, but also in the hereafter, the satisfaction that you will get, once you think about it and how much you will be rewarded, that helps motivate you to stand up again and fulfill what Allah has commanded you to do in that worship matter. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, in that short note that I've explained to you, we nowadays seriously have to have each person, whether a brother or a sister that is listening, whether she is a mother or she is a daughter, a time for yourself alone to think about yourself and what Allah has given you and where do you stand. And look, it doesn't have to be in the house. You can go abroad, go to the desert, go to the seaside, away from the noise of people, and think about yourself and what Allah has given you. These moments are very precious. As I showed you how it affected the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and how the companions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to have these moments for themselves in their house or outside, and how that reflected in their faith and in their belief and in their action in their life, and how also Imam Al-Qayyim has shown us how it affects a Muslim in his behavior. And also Qutba when he said that it is a mirror of yourself, that you will see your weaknesses and your strengths, and that will help you maintain the righteous path in your life here and to be a winner in the hereafter. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا واسرافنا في ديننا واصلح فساد قلوبنا وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم نسالك لذة النظر لوجهك الكريم والشوق الى لقائك بغير ضراء مضره ولا فتنة مضله. اللهم اجمعنا بالمصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم نشرب من يده الشريفة شربة لا نظمأ بعدها ابدا. اللهم اصلح ازواجنا وذرياتنا ومن حولنا واصلح اعمالنا واصلح دنيانا واخرتنا واكتب بصالحات اعمالنا يا رب العالمين.